In this video, we're going to wrap up the to-do app conversion process by focusing on the views file and index.js. The code for filters and to-dos is already done, so we can actually close both of those files. We're just going to keep open the two new files we're going to be working with and the two old files where we're going to be grabbing some code from. Let's go ahead and start with to-do functions, adding everything necessary into the views file. So we need render to-dos, generate to-do DOM, and generate summary DOM. Over here, I'm going to grab all three. Down below, I have render to-dos. We are going to make some changes to this one as I talked about with the arguments. We'll deal with that in just a moment. Let's start by getting it over here. Then down below, we're going to grab generate to-do DOM as well. I'm going to grab this function, bring it over to the views file, and paste it right here above the comment for it. Then we'll grab the last one, that is generate summary DOM. Over into do functions, down below, we have generate summary DOM. I'm going to copy that, bringing it over to the views file. Now there's actually nothing in to do functions we need anymore. We've taken care of just those bottom three functions in this video, and we took care of the top four in the last one. We can actually go ahead and close that file down as we have everything already. Now let's focus on functions in the views file, starting with render to-dos. We want to set it up to take no arguments. So instead of accepting the to-dos and filters as arguments, we're going to import get to-dos and get filters. Let's start there. Right here, import get to-dos from ./to-dos. Then down below that, we are going to import get filters from ./filters. Now we're actually going to use both of those inside of this function. So first up, we need to store those filters. I'm going to create a new variable for this, const filters equals get filters, and then we can remove this argument as it no longer serves a purpose. We're also going to remove the to-dos argument, and if you notice, the only place we use it is right here. So all I'm going to do is delete that argument, delete its reference, and replace the reference with a call to get to-dos. So now we're getting the to-dos, which returns an array, and we're calling filter on that array to get the filtered to-dos. Perfect. So there we go. Render to-dos is now working really well with the new setup, and we can continue on down the list. Next up, we have generate to-do DOM. I'm going to go ahead and remove the comment for render to-dos. In this function, there are a couple of things we're going to need to change. Right here, we have some code that goes through the process of handling a checkbox change. So when someone clicks a to-dos checkbox, and we also have some code below that for when someone clicks the remove button. We want to make sure we're taking advantage of those new functions, toggle to do and remove to do. And remember, we don't need to manually call save to-dos anymore. So let's go ahead and kick things off by importing both toggle to do and remove to do. Up at the top, I'm going to grab both of those. Toggle to do first, remove to do second. Then down below, we're going to change the calls. So right here, toggle to do, that still works and it's still passing in the ID. So nothing needs to change on that line. The next line where we call save to dos is redundant since toggle to do takes care of that for us. After this, we have render to-dos. This no longer takes any arguments, so we can actually go ahead and remove them. The same thing is true down below for remove to-do. Remove to-do is going to stay as is. Save to-dos is going to get removed, and we're still going to call render to-dos. We're just going to call it with no arguments, which is exactly how it expects to be called. With that in place, we can remove the comment for generate to-do DOM as that function is done as well. Down below, we have generate summary DOM. Generate summary DOM doesn't need to change at all. Now the question is, where do we call generate summary DOM? We call it up above, right here, and we're passing in the incomplete to-dos already, so this code can stay as is, and the code below can stay as is as well. Let's go ahead and remove the comments from that, and we're going to go ahead and wrap things up by setting up our exports. Right here, export. We're going to export those three things. Let's start with generate to do DOM. Then we have render to-dos. And finally, we have generate summary DOM. Awesome. I'm going to remove that comment. That is it for this file. We can now move over to index.js and actually implement all of this. That's going to allow us to wrap up this project. Let's start by grabbing all of the code from to-do app and bringing it over there. We can leave off use strict since we know Babel adds that for us, but I will grab every other line of code. I'm going to copy it to the clipboard, take it over to index.js. Down below, after the comments, I'm going to delete all of the test code we had and just paste the stuff in from to-do app. Now let's go ahead and kick things off as we did previously. We no longer need this to-dos array. Remember, the to-dos array served a single purpose in this file to get passed around to functions. We no longer have functions that take the to-dos array like it used to, so it can be removed completely. The same is true with filters. Let's go ahead and start there. I'm going to remove the to-dos variable and the filters variable. Next up, we have render to-dos. That is still something we're going to call, but we're going to call it with no arguments. And if we're going to call it, we should probably import it. Let's go ahead and remove the arguments. Up above, import, right here, render to-dos from ./views. Perfect. So this line is going to work as expected. Next up, we have our event listener. This is listening for that search text field. When it changes, we're just updating the filters object. We now have a function that gets that done for us, so let's go ahead and actually use it. I'm going to import it. Import. That one is called set filters from ./filters. We've already tested this function out, so we know it's going to work as expected. Right here, we're going to call set filters. I'm going to pass in my updates object, and we're just trying to set search text equal to e.target.value, which is exactly what we were using earlier. Perfect. Let's go ahead and remove that first line. And down below, we're just going to change the render to-dos call to take no arguments, which is indeed the correct way to call it. That brings us to the next event listener in our list. This is for that new to-do submission. Now, in this case, we were doing a lot of work. Right here, we were actually pushing something onto the array and saving it. That is not necessary anymore, as we have that one function, create to do, that we can now use. And that's exactly what we're going to end up doing. Let's go ahead and import it up above. I'm going to import create to do from ./to-dos. Down below, we're just going to call it. We're going to call it with the text, which we have in a variable right here. So I'm going to remove the call to to-dos.push. I'm also going to remove the call to save to-dos. And all we're going to do is call create to do, passing in text. That's going to add the new item, and it's going to save things to local storage. We do still want to re-render afterwards. Right here, we can go ahead and remove those arguments, though, as they are not necessary. The last event handler we have is for changing the hide completed filter. I'm going to go ahead and knock this one out, just like we did above for the search text filter. Right here, we're going to be using the exact same value. That's e.target.checked. So set filters, passing in our object. We want to set hide completed equal to e.target.checked. Perfect. Down below, calling render to dos with no arguments. So let's go ahead and see how far that gets us. Up above, add the necessary inputs, knock that out. Render initial to dos, knock that out as well. Then we have our 3 handlers, which we knocked out. And that really just leaves us with the final thing to do, which was totally optional, adding a watcher for local storage. We will knock that out in just a little bit. Before we do that, though, let's make sure that our current setup is actually working. So what do we need to do to make that happen? We just need to load the correct file from index.html, which we still have to copy over. So over into do app old, we want to bring over the images directory to the public folder. I'm also going to bring the styles directory over to the public folder. And lastly, we're going to take index.html, bring that over as well, and replace the current boilerplate one. In that file, we are loading multiple scripts via multiple script tags. We only need one, so I'm going to remove the other 2. And this script is going to be /bundle.js. Perfect. We can save index.html. We can save index.js. And now we can actually test things out. Over in the browser, what am I getting? I am getting my to-dos showing up, which is fantastic. Let's actually test things out. I'm going to start by checking one of those boxes, and that to-do does show up as completed. If I click hide completed, it goes away, which is great. If I remove it, it actually gets deleted permanently, which is awesome. Right here, I should be able to filter as well. If I search another, that is going to be a match. Whoops, spell it correctly, of course. And if I were to misspell that like I did before, we're going to see that it is no longer a match and we're matching 0 to-dos, which is also great. Down below, I should be able to add another one, eat some lunch, which I'm going to do in just a few moments. I could now search for something like lunch. I can see that showing up. So it appears that our to-do application is completely functional as it was before. Now, I do want to wrap this video up by addressing that last bonus item, adding a watcher for local storage. And this is going to be super similar to what we did for the notes application. So let's go ahead and remove all of these comments, since the last one is the one we're going to address right now. And down below, we're going to knock this out. Right here, window.add event listener. Like we did before, we are listening for that storage event. Right here on the storage event, we are going to pass the callback function to get called, and we get that event argument. We want to use this argument so we can figure out exactly which key changed. If e.key is equal to to-dos, then we know it was the to-do data that changed, and we can go ahead and actually re-render things. Now, there are 2 steps to this process. We want to load the new to-dos by calling load to-dos, and I want to call render to-dos to re-render the latest data. I'll call load to-dos right here. It's not imported at the moment, but we'll address that in a second. And I'll call render to-dos down below, which is indeed imported. So load to-dos does need to be accessible in this file. It's currently not. And if we actually go over to the to-dos file, we can see that load to-dos isn't even exported. So if we're going to use it in another file, we have to export it. I'll add that right up front. Load to-dos, perfect. Now load to-dos is something another file can actually import, and that's great because we're going to add it in index.js. Right here, after create to-do, load to-dos. Now if we save this, everything should be working as expected. We're watching for changes in that storage event. When something changes, we're actually getting the new data and re-rendering. Let's go ahead and actually test that out. I'm going to take the exact same URL and open it up in another tab. Now, if I check this first item and go over to the other page, I can see it's checked over here as well. If I delete the item from the first tab and go over to this one, I can see it's been deleted as well. So now everything is in sync and working correctly. All right, that is it for this challenge. We went through the process of converting the to-do application, and now we have that app converted as well. We can go ahead and take a moment to delete the old to-do app project, as all of the code inside of there is no longer necessary. It all lives over inside of the new directory. And that's where we're going to stop for this one. We're done all of the heavy lifting for this section. All of our projects are now using this new setup, but there are a couple of other fun, small little features I want to talk about that can make our life just a little bit easier when working with JavaScript. We're going to tackle those in the next couple of videos, then we'll be done with this new section. I'm excited to get to it, so let's go ahead and jump right in.